Everyone, this is Chase Pounds. In today's video, I'm going to discuss about a subject I don't typically talk about. It's the 50th anniversary of The Exorcist. It's a movie that came out in 1973 on December 26th. Even though typically this is a movie, as I said, I don't discuss about because of the subject matter. But I feel like it's a iconic film that changed the direction in film, in horror movies, and film history in general. And if I pay tribute and discuss about it, this movie is a story. It's based on a true story that took place in my hometown, which I eventually get into. It's the story of a girl named Rankin McNeil, who played by Linda Blair. It also stars Ellen Burstyn, who was possessed by the devil, and is possessed by the devil, who is exorcised by an evil spirit. He's possessed by an evil spirit, and with the work of a priest, is exorcised. And how I think it, well, in which I never really seen the whole movie. I seen bits and pieces of it. Begins with a archaeologist who in the desert of Iran, I think, who come across a figurehead. And I guess that unleashes the spirit, and I guess it travels. It finds itself in the town of Washington. And it attached itself to the girl Rankin McNeil, who was 14 years old, and that's when it eventually possesses her, and the worker priest exorcises the spirit, but tracks the priest dies with the priest dies at the hand of the evil spirit, and then the psychiatric man tries to I guess he was struggling with his faith after his mother dies, tries to free the spirit himself, and unfortunately it takes over him, and he jumps out the window, and the girl's freed of possession. She's eventually free of possession. That's how the story ends. And this was a very successful film when it came out in 1973 because of the subject matter. And this was a movie that changed the course of film history and horror movie history and film history in general. People said that people lined up. Lines were packed. The theaters were packed with people in line waiting to see the movie, and people said that it caused guess the subject matter of the film also caused a lot of sicknesses and shock from the film. And because at the time this was something new subject that never been tackled before, and before the Exorcist, it was more tackled before. Most movies, horror movies, dealt with mythical monsters like vampires, werewolves. Universal horror movies like Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman, and that began to lose its shock value in the 30s and 40s during World War. The shock value by the end of post-World War II, became comedy with Alec Costello. Then during the era of the atomic age, science fiction became a new trend. Though not horror, but not trend in horror, but it was the new dominant genre. Then you had Alfred Hitchcock in the 60s with movies such as Psycho of the Birds. Then you had Rosemary Baby, a precursor to this. Also precursor to this, but for the most part, there was no movie that tackled the subject. And the movie was such a, I think it believed that with the success of this film, with the release of this film, it knew, I guess, a new spiritual awakening. You had two different awakenings. You had the Great Awakening during the 18th century, then again during the 19th century during the era of slavery. Then this was the third one, I think, during the counterculture movement. At a time when people were, I should say, were struggling with belief in their faith. Society was struggling in their belief in faith, and Time magazine said that Jesus was dead. Also reflected that era. It actually brought back the ritual of exorcism, which was dormant since the Puritan days of the days of the 17th century, during the era when women were burned at the stake for being witches. At the time when people believed in the power of the devil. And until by the 18th century, there was a new attitude and I should say a new attitude and enlightenment way of thinking. People believe in science and reasoning, and the belief in possession, the devil, and exorcism was kind of faded away for a while. They had a couple of exceptions and cases that define logic, such as I told you one story of the Bell Witch in another video, and that's to some people an example of a demonic haunting. In some cases, then in 1949, you had a case that became the basis for this movie, in Mount Rainier, Maryland, of a boy who said to have became the victim of demonic possession. And part of the incident took place here in St. Louis, my hometown, St. Louis, Missouri. And it's actually because he had an aunt, a close aunt, who lived here in St. Louis, when he was very close to the close to Aunt. He tried to contact her from Ouija board. I guess to some people speculate that opened up the spirit went round, and and that started the paranormal occurrences in his possession. It said that he had scars that said St. Louis, that told him to go to St. Louis for the perform the exorcism. And he actually stayed in with relatives in St. Louis and actually in the same neighborhood where my great godmother stays at. And then he was part of the exorcism took place at St. Louis University at the Alexian Brothers Hospital. He was eventually free of possession. But this story became the prep for the base for the 1973 film. And I think I could show you the house where it happened. And I went through a phase where this is a subject I don't usually talk about in recent years, but I went through a phase where I kind of I like the actress Linda Blair. I found it attractive. After I guess that would be an early example of a celebrity crush I had. I had watched when I was 10 years old. I had watched the documentary about Linda Blair. I still have it, recording one of my tapes. This is the house right here. Yep, and so this movie changed the course of filmmaking horror movies. It became the standard for other films, and I think the trope for other movies such as, even though it was a story about a boy that was possessed by the devil, it's true story was about a boy possessed by the devil. It had a little girl, and I think that perpetuated the old medieval superstitions of women and children being vulnerable to the power of the devil. became the trope for other movies such as The Omen, about a little boy who's considered the Antichrist, Damien. And there are other inspired a Turkish version by the same theme called Satan, 1974. I watched it on YouTube when I was in middle school. And there was another movie I watched that's around the same time called Beyond the Door. It's a similar story about a woman during a pregnancy becomes possessed with the devil. And she spends her head just like in the original Exorcist. And then you had a couple of sequels. You had The Exorcist 2, The Heretic, and then you had Legion. And those movies didn't do as good as the original. And that's all I had to say on this subject. I said this is the 15th anniversary of The Exorcist, and I feel like this was it's 50 years of The Exorcist, which was 1973, and that's what comes to mind of that year, along with other events such as Roe v. Wade, Watergate scandal. It's always been said that it's the 50-year anniversary of hip hop, which I didn't know hip hop started that early in 1973. They just did a music special about that. And of course, 50 years of The Exorcist, that comes to mind that year 1973. That's all I had to say on this subject. It's enough here by Chase Pound. Stay tuned for the next video.